So to Villa Park then, the bottom of the table clash, Aston Villa versus Watford. Brief highlights of this: early possession from Watford. They looked the better side early on, and on 37 minutes they went ahead after a great move down the right. Delafeu got to the byline. He put his cross on a plate, and Deeney stepped in and headed strongly past Rayner, and it was 1-0. It was that score at the break, but into the second half Villa sort of came alive, and on 67 minutes Douglas Luiz got onto a pushed away save from Foster following a target shot that was set up by Grealish, who else, and Luiz's effort went past the keeper, and it was 1-1. We got to added time now, and on 94 minutes Villa managed to steal the show. It was Konza who managed to get his foot to the ball after a free kick was sent high up into the penalty area. Mings managed to get a touch to it, and it slid to Konza, and Konza's shot hit Mings on the way through, slight deflection, but gave Foster no chance. It hit the back of the net, and the Villa crowd erupted, and shortly after it was the final whistle. So a great win for Villa. They won this game by 2-1. So to the South Coast clash, Bournemouth at home to Brighton. Bournemouth absolutely desperate for something. For Brighton, Jakenbach was reinstalled in their front three. Trossard was on the bench, and Gross was also playing for Brighton after a period out. For Bournemouth, of course, they had no Cook. He was suspended after that handball and red card. So into the action. Early effort really from Rico on 32nd minute in the box, but his effort hit the side netting. And then Bournemouth got their just desserts. They were slightly on top, and on 35 minutes a nice sweeping move and a great long ball from Billing, which was poorly dealt with by the Brighton defence. Solanke collected the clearance and then fed Wilson, and his shot hit the back of the net. 1-0 to the Cherries. And then the last period of the first half of 40 minutes, another swinging corner from the Cherries. Ake got onto it, and it eventually fell to Callum Wilson in the box, and he clipped it over the line, and that was 2-0 for Bournemouth at the break. Into the second half then, and this is when Ramsdale in Bournemouth's goal really earned his salary. He was in tremendous form, and he blocked a couple of efforts from Brighton, and he looked impressive. A superb save on 68 from Mopé was the pick of the bunch, and another on 70, another one from Moy, and so he was keeping Bournemouth 2 goals in front. And then on 73 minutes they wrapped it up. A second from Callum Wilson. After a good attack, the ball came to him slightly fortuitously after it hit the defender's heel from a Solanke pass, but he gobbled it up and slotted it home, and that was 3-0 to Bournemouth. On 80 minutes, Moy got a consolation for Brighton, but the final whistle was greeted by Howe and his players with exuberance. They had eventually got some goals, and they won this game at home by 3-1. To Selhurst Park then, Crystal Palace at home to Southampton. Both sides have been playing well recently. Palace were unchanged, but Southampton, they rested Ings, put him on the bench, and Obafemi came in for him. And into the first half, the first chance came to Tosin. Of course, he scored his debut at the weekend, but this time he blasted high and wide on 17 minutes after defensive lapse by Vestagen. But then 22 minutes, a piece of absolute class by Redmond. he managed to get on the board. He created a yard of space with a nice turn, and then hit an absolute delicious strike that whistled past Gaeta in Palace's goal, and Southampton were 1-up. They were on top now, and Armstrong had a strike that was tipped over by the keeper, and Bertram looking dangerous with a great cross again, and nobody on the end of it. He was getting panic stations in Palace's defence, and from another corner, another effort from Armstrong that Guaita grasped. Got to the break then, 1-0 to Saints, but it could have been better. They obviously came out determined into the second half, and 2 minutes in, Armstrong, another excellent strike from distance, hit the left corner, and that was 2-0. 62 minutes, Redmond looking dangerous, could have added to that. Palace were pretty ordinary throughout. On 80 minutes they did have another effort, but Wickham just couldn't get on the end of it. And Saints really were good value. We reached the final whistle, full-time score at Selhurst Park. Crystal Palace 0, Southampton 2. So it's midweek action in the Premier League, and the first bit of action to review was at Stamford Bridge, the London derby, Chelsea against Arsenal. This is a 200th contest between the two of them, so there's a lot of rivalry here. Team news: Emerson was in for Reece James, who had an injury, so slight rejigging of the defence for Chelsea. Hudson-Odoi was selected. Barkley back on the bench. For Arsenal, they also had a couple of changes. Bellerin, after a long time absent, was in for Maitland-Niles, but of course they were still without Aubameyang. So early action, some half chances for Chelsea early on. A second from a corner went fractionally wide. And then on 11 minutes, Abraham should have scored from a Rudiger header across the 6-yard box, but the chance went away. And then on 25 minutes, a dreadful back pass from Mustafi, and Abraham managed to latch onto it, and he rounded the keeper. Luiz forced him wide and then brought him down inside the box. The referee had no chance, no alternative but to award a penalty, and out came a red card as well. So Luiz was off. Jorginho stepped up and popped it into the corner, so that was 1-0 to Chelsea. Deserved lead, I might add. They held that to the break. They could have added to it, but guilty once again of missing chances in the final third. Into the second half, and on 62 minutes, again Chelsea on the attack, but the corner was dealt with. A swift counter-attack from their own half, and Martinelli broke through, and he took advantage of Kante falling over, and his pace was impressive, and he slid it wide of Kepa for the equaliser, so that was 1-1. The 10 men of Arsenal were showing stiff resistance to Chelsea. 71 minutes, Lacazette netted a goal, but it was offside clearly by a couple of yards. And then on 79 minutes, another interesting one by Barkley, ran ahead of the defence, collected the pass, but his header unfortunately was easily dealt with by Leno. And then 83 minutes, Chelsea had been in the ascendancy. Well, they had been throughout the match really, and Azpilicueta from a corner got a touch and slid it wide of Leno, and Chelsea were back in front, but they didn't hang on for very long. 3 minutes later, Bellerin got dancing down the right hand side, cut inside, and they backed off him, and he hit a sweet left foot strike wide of Leno, and so it was back level again. Well, that was about it. We got to the final whistle. Delighted Arteta, his side with 10 men had managed to sniggle a draw here. Disappointment for Lampard again, but full time at Stamford Bridge, Chelsea 2, Arsenal 2. So to Goodison Park then. Everton at home to Newcastle. For the Toffees, Shenderling was in midfield for the Toffees. Moise Keane retained up front, still no Richarlison, and still no Gylfi Sigurdsson either. For the Magpies, Atsu was up front with Linton, and both Longstaffs in. Of course, a host of injuries for Bruce. Anyway, into the action, and early efforts from Keane made Dubrovka look good, and that was the first chance of a dominating performance by Everton in the first half. And then finally that man Moise Keane got his debut goal. This time his shot went through Dubrovka's legs and into the net. Dubrovka, well, yeah, questions about his effort there, but it was 1-0 to Everton, and that was the score at the half. Second half, Everton continued to dominate, and Daniel fed Lewin, who made a nice turn and left foot shot, and it went wide of Dubrovka, and that was 2-0 for the Toffees. I only saw highlights of this, but we then sped forward to added time. 2-0 to the Toffees, minute 94. A bit of a scramble in the box, and Lejeune eventually got to the ball, and a dramatic bicycle kick put it into the centre of the goal, with Pickford floundering. So 2-1. Less than a minute left, and it was hoisted into the box by Newcastle, and amazingly there was some ping pong in the 6-yard box, and eventually that man Lejeune managed to get his second after Hayden's effort was blocked. It scrambled over the line, and Newcastle had miraculously scored 2 goals in a minute to grab a draw. Pickford was absolutely besotted with rage at his defenders' ineptness. So the final score at Goodison Park, amazingly, was Everton 2, Newcastle 2. So the final match of the round on Tuesday night, Sheffield United at home to Manchester City. United are having a great season under Wilder, and they were pretty unlucky losing at the Etihad a few weeks back. Wilder did rest Mousset though, and Billy Sharp made a rare start for the Blades. For Man City, well, they had Laporta back in defence. He's been out for 6 months or so, so it was great to see him back. And other changes: Mahrez, Jesus and Rodri were in, Aguero, Bernardo and Gundogan on the bench, and also Inchenko returned after a period out. So let's get to the action then, and a nice move down the road right for the Blades on 6 minutes, but the cross was easily dealt with by Edison. 18 minutes, another Henderson this time, good stop from Sterling, set up by Mahrez, and Mahrez had a strong game again, on the right flank of course. Another save for Henderson from an Otamendi bicycle kick midway through the first half, and then a weaving run by Mahrez again on 34 minutes, and Basham managed to bring him down, and the penalty was awarded, but Jesus stepped up, and Henderson, a tremendous save, pushed it away, so it remained goalless at the break. Into the second half then, and City were having the better of things, but Sheffield United looking dangerous on the break. Rodri had a header on 58 minutes though, that looked like it was in the corner, but for somehow it went a whisker wide. That was set up by who else? Kevin De Bruyne, and a little later the Blades, Mousset came on and he had a chance, but again Edison handled it fairly easily. 71 minutes though, McBurney had a great chance and he missed the cross, great opportunity, but Aguero had come on then and he made the difference on 72. A fantastic cross from De Bruyne inches perfect. Aguero, like the predator he is, getting that yard on the defender and tapped it in from 4 yards. It was a superb goal and worthy of any winner. And that was it, really. Just a single goal. Sheffield United had done themselves proud again, but Manchester City had taken the points by 1-0. Laporta played about 70 minutes and was pretty steady, so things looking good for Guardiola. Full-time score then, Sheffield United 0, Manchester City 1.